welcome back to a new video. I feel like a lot of the things I do make from scratch. Like I just go out, I buy fabric, and then I make the item. Last year I did try to upcycle a lot of old things like bed sheets and curtains, such as that dress I made for the fair made out of some curtains. And I think it's really fun. It like kind of challenges you to think a little bit differently and be more creative. And I really enjoy those projects, even though they are really stressful and sometimes a bit overwhelming. And so I decided that right now, something I really want to try to work on is upcycling some old clothes of mine. I'm guilty of going to the thrift store and finding something that I think is so cute and being like, I can do something beautiful with this. And then I come home and I feel like it just kind of gets put away. I have this area under my desk where I put a lot of clothes that I want to upcycle. And then I feel like I just get really overwhelmed and nervous about trying to start it and worrying about like making it worse, that I don't ever really try to attempt it. So in this video, I want to try to take some of those pieces out and finally upcycle them. I've already started working on a few and they've come out beautiful, which is why I feel a lot more confident now in the pieces that I'm going to continue to work on. So I have a bunch of pieces like skirts I'm turning into dresses, pieces I'm fixing up, making two-piece sets, and some of the pieces also just need to be like altered, like they might be slightly too big in my waist and I just need to take them in. So we're just gonna go through a whole bunch of them in this video. We'll see how many I go through within the next 2 weeks before I get tired. But I'm really excited and I'm really happy to be doing this. So let's jump right in and see how many fun pieces I can thrift flip. Okay, so underneath my desk I have a lot of fabric and things I want to upcycle, and something else under my desk that I have is this big old bag. And everything in here needs to either be altered or just completely upcycled. So my goal is to get through stuff in this bag. I probably won't get through all of it in this video because some of the stuff is going to take a hot minute, but get through as much as I can of this, and then when this whole bag is entirely done, I'll continue to go through stuff that's under there. But let's start with this one. Originally in this clip I am talking, showing it as a skirt and then showing why I think it would work better as a dress as long as the extent of the fraying of it, but there was just so much background noise in it, I cut it out. But this is what it originally looked like of me just pulling it up, so I didn't have to take it in super much at the end, but still. Starting off with the easiest one of turning this skirt into a dress, the first thing I did was pin down the sides of the main fabric to make the dress fit me better. Once I was happy with the shape of the dress, I began with fixing the top edge of the dress. It was all destroyed and fraying, so I began with trimming it all down, and then I used a thin bias tape to pin along the top edge to hide that destroyed edge. I did end up having to seam rip off the top bow, but I put it aside to sew it back on later. Once the bias tape was sewn, I hand sewed the bow back on, and then I used a hook and eye closure to connect the bias tape above the zipper. Then the dress was complete, and it only took me an hour to transform. For my next project, I thrifted this skirt a while ago. It's like this beautiful kind of velvet, crushed velvet material, and there's flowers on it. I usually don't like the color gray, but I do really like this fabric, which is really surprising for me. I didn't think I would like it as much as I do. But it's a really long skirt. It like touches the floor and it doesn't really fit my waist right. So I really just want to turn it into a dress. I'm definitely more of a dress girl and I'll get a lot more wear out of it as a dress. So I don't want it to be like too flary and costumey. I have an idea for it. I'm pretty sure I should have enough fabric, but let's just begin cutting. What's gonna suck is it has like that slit in the back. So I need to just keep that in mind. Oh my gosh, and there's also a little rip right there. I don't know if you can even see that, but joy. To turn this skirt into a dress, the first thing I did was seam rip up the back of the skirt where the slit was, and then continue seam ripping up the zipper. Once it laid down flat, I began cutting off the waistband. I thought about seam ripping it, but there was just a lot of stitching to rip up, so instead I just decided to chop the whole thing off. Once the skirt could lay down flat, I began with cutting out the pieces. I had the fabric folded in half to make sure that the pieces were symmetrical after I cut them, and to make the best use out of the fabric, since I could not go out and buy more if I needed to, which is definitely a bummer with these upcycling projects. I made the dress 5 pieces, with the bodice and skirt connected in each of those pieces, and I used the same method that I used to make this dress that I linked. I did not want to use a closure on this dress, so I also made sure to give me some wiggle room so that I could easily pull this dress on and off over my head. I ended up having to seam rip and open the darts on the dress, which did leave a mark, but it was not super noticeable, so I did not fret about it. Once I had all 5 pieces cut out from the skirt, I began connecting them together. Since there was going to be no closure on this dress, I could sew all 5 pieces together, kind of making it like a giant tube, and there was no reason to leave one side open or anything like that. Before I did anything else, I did try on the dress to make sure I liked the fit of it. Once again, since there is no closure, it was very important that I would be able to put it on and off easily, so this is me just making sure it works right. I like the fit of the body. I do think it's a little long, so I want to cut part of the bottom of it. But now the next thing that I need to work on is straps. This is the waistband, which I don't think I'm going to use. But what I'm trying to decide is if I want like a thin strap like this down, maybe even like a little thinner. Like, do I want something thin? Or my original plan was to kind of do like a cap sleeve, so it start thin and kind of branch out a bit. I think I like the cap sleeve, and because if I want the cap sleeve, I'll use the bottom that I cut off for it, and I think that would be cute, something like that to go on it in the back. I think yeah, let's just go with it. Once the dress was all connected, I cut the bottom off to the length that I wanted, and then used the fabric to make the straps. I wanted the straps to be thinner near the dress, but flare out and become wider around my shoulder, so I cut out that shape. Since I was using the bottom of the length that I cut off, there were seams and stuff from when I connected the dress before, so I did have to keep those seam lines in mind when I was cutting out the shape for my straps. Since this fabric was like a crushed velvet, it kept shedding all over my room and it looked like dirt, and it was getting me so aggravated as I was working on this project. Anyway, now with my straps fully cut out, I folded over the side raw edge and then did a zigzag stitch to secure down the sides since the fabric was stretchy and I didn't want to use a straight stitch for that. Taking back out my dress, I used the zigzag stitch to fold over the top raw edge of the dress, as well as the bottom raw edge to hem it. Then I connected my straps to the top of the dress, and then the transformation was complete. Okay, my next order of business is this cute little dress. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be a dress, but it's just the fit of it is really bad on me, and also I don't like these sleeves. I hate 3/4 length sleeves, but these are like awkward, like they stop right at my elbow, and I think it's really uncomfortable. And I just want to make it, I love this little butterfly detail, so I just want to make it tighter around my top, but I still want it to flare out at the bottom because I love that. It looks like there is like a seam right here. If you can kind of see like the line, maybe I should flip it inside out. There's a seam, so I don't know maybe if I should take apart that seam, tailor them in, and then bring them back together. But I really don't want the skirt to be gathered. I like that flared aspect of it. So I'm just gonna have to plan about it. And there's also a butterfly on the back. But let's try it on and see how bad that fit is. Alright, this is the butterfly dress top on. See, it's just like really big in the waist. So I want to just take it in so it fits more like that. And the length is still really nice. I think it's so cute and perfect for a dress. And I do want to keep also the butterfly in the back. But the sleeves, just like, I don't know why they stopped there. I'm not rocking with that, so I'm going to definitely cut the sleeves off. I think it might be cute as like a little halter dress. I think that's what, I feel like you could see it, my skirt. I feel like that's what I'm leaning towards. Maybe I'll use the excess of the sleeves that I cut off to make it like a cute little halter style dress. But I'm so excited for this one. I love the color pink and I love butterflies. And I knew the second I saw this, it'd be so cute as a dress. So I'm so excited to finally make it a dress. To turn this shirt into a dress, I started with cutting off the sleeves of the dress and putting them aside to be used for later. I tried the shirt back on and decided how much I wanted to pin the sides down, making sure to pin down the same amount on each side. After I sewed that down and was happy with the look, I cut off the excessive seam allowance and then serged down that raw edge to prevent fraying. Next, I cut off the top of the dress, trying to make it more curved at the center front so that way I could get the entire butterfly. On the back of the dress, to help it fit me better since I also did not want a closure on this dress, I folded down the top edge of the back and then I sewed down an elastic piece using a zigzag stitch. I also folded over the top edge of the dress and sewed that down to finish the top. Sleeves, I cut them open along the side seams and then I also cut off the hem. To make the straps for the halter dress, I used the middle of the strap to cut out a long rectangle and then pin the 2 rectangles that I got from the 2 sleeves together. I decided that I also wanted a tie back for the back of the dress, so I used the sides of the sleeves to cut out more rectangles that were not as long but thinner. I had to get creative to make the strap since I did not have a lot of fabric left over. I cut out all of my rectangles using practically every inch of the fabric from the sleeves, and then pinning the right sides together, I sewed the rectangles together to make them big, long straps. For the halter strap, I folded the rectangle in half, right sides together, and then turning it right side out after being sewn. I sewed it down along the top of the dress, trying to sew along the seam from earlier to help it blend in with the stitching. For the tie backs, I folded them in fourths, tucking in the raw edges and the top raw edges as well, and then sewing those down. Then, along the side seams of the dress, I sewed down each tie on either side of the side seams, and then the dress was complete. Thrift stores always have so much denim, and so much of that denim ends up going to landfills. So I've been trying to be more mindful when I go to the thrift store and try to think of fun things I can do with the denim. For the longest time, I've been against denim. I didn't like it because I hate jeans. So it's never been anything I looked at, but now my eyes have really opened up to how much potential denim has and a whole bunch of things you can do with it. So I went to the Goodwill bins, which is where like they sell it by the pound. And I found these jeans, which is kind of crazy because I think they're really cute. They are a little bit big on me, but I can work with that. And they're like long. They're kind of like a straight leg, but look at the pockets. I think those are so cute and amazing. So I want to transform this into a mini skirt. I recently did that with a different pair of skinny jeans I bought. I transformed that into a mini skirt with like 2 kind of ruffle pleats at the bottom, and it is so darling, and every time I wear it I get so many compliments. So I'm hoping that this is another one of those skirts and it lives up to the beauty. So let's first try these on and see if I need to take in the waist or anything. I'm gonna be so honest, I hate low-rise jeans, okay? I feel like it does not look good on me or my body type at all. And that's what these are. But I think if I turn them into a skirt, there might be a way to kind of bring it up. But then because of that, then I'm going to need to take in the waist even more. But you know what? It's alright. It's whatever. Yeah, I think they don't need to be taken in that much. Like I said, they fit pretty fine. Maybe like a little bit big. But if I'm going to raise them up more, they're going to need to be coming in more anyway. So I think the first order of business is going to have to be to tighten them to fit just a little bit better. But I'm obsessed with the pockets. They're so cute. But tailoring jeans is not going to be fun. So joy!
To transform these jeans into a cute denim skirt, the first thing I did was cut the leg part off of the jeans, cutting close to the crotch seam. Since these jeans were also too big around my waist, I seam ripped off the waistband along the side seams, also having to seam rip up one of the belt loops to give me more space to work with. Then I could cut open the side seams of the skirt. I wanted to make sure that I could still use the front pockets of the skirt, so I made sure to take in more of the back of the skirt than the front when pinning the new sides of the skirt together. This fabric frayed very easily, so I serged down the side seams of the skirt to prevent this. I then also serged down the bottom raw edge of the skirt to prepare for the pleats. Taking the pant legs, I cut open the side seams so that they could lay down flat, and then I cut out 4 rectangles total from the pant legs, 2 from each leg. Once they were all cut out, I pinned all 4 rectangles together to make a giant tube and sewed them together. Using my serger again to prevent fraying, I first serged down the seam allowance from each of those stitchings, and then I serged down the top edge for the pleats. Going back to my skirt, I tried to match 2 of the seams to the side seams, and then I began evenly spacing out the pleats along the bottom of the skirt. I wanted to make them box pleats, and I'm really happy with the funnel look of them. Very carefully, I sewed down the pleats, and then I went back to the waistband of the skirt. I cut it open and I pin it nicely to fit along the new side seams of the skirt. I then re-sewed the waistband together, and then I folded in that raw edge and re-sewed it down to the skirt. I also had to re-sew the top stitch of the waistband, as well as the belt loop that I ripped up. The final step was doing a rolled hem along the bottom of the pleats, and then the skirt was complete.
And that is the end of this video. I'm thinking about making this a little series since I have so many clothes to upcycle, and I think it would be a good way to motivate myself because even just this one, I spent a lot of time making it because I would upcycle one thing and then be like, I'm done. I feel good. Like, let's keep the party going. I did also make slight alterations for a bunch of other stuff, but it just wasn't really worth including because it literally took 5 seconds to do. But there has been a significant decrease in that bag, not enough to where I feel content. I want to finish that whole bag. So hopefully, as the year goes on, I'll be able to finish altering and upcycling all of the stuff in that bag. So this will be part 1 of the series, and stay tuned for more parts of me transforming my old thrift clothes.